Okay, so we're diving into some pretty interesting articles today all about Canada's new Prime Minister, Mark Carney. And, well, basically, the big challenge facing him right now, navigating this potential trade war with the U.S., it's not exactly a common thing, to see a former central banker jump right into the political arena like this.
Yeah.
Especially with things being so tense between the two countries.
Yeah, no kidding. And what's really interesting here is Carney's background. I mean, this is someone who's already tackled the 2008 financial crisis back in Canada and then Brexit over in the UK. So he's definitely got some experience dealing with these global economic storms.
It's true. It makes you wonder if he's got like a secret playbook or something for handling these kinds of crises, right? I mean, this isn't just any election. We're talking about national identity, trade wars, even whispers of annexation, which, let me tell you, has Canadians pretty fired up.
Oh, absolutely. And I think a good place to start is with that landslide victory. Carney won the Liberal leadership with a huge 85.9% of the vote, replacing Justin Trudeau. And he's expected to call a general election very soon, likely framing it around while standing up to U.S. pressure.
Makes sense. And it's a pretty bold move, though, right? Going from central banker to prime minister. I mean, you mentioned he headed both the Bank of Canada and the Bank of England, the first non-Brit to lead the Bank of England since 1694. So it tells something about the guy.
It definitely suggests he's not afraid of a challenge, and he's been credited with helping Canada recover quickly from the 2008 crisis and also mitigating the worst impacts of Brexit on the UK's economy. So, his success in both of those crises kind of suggests a strategic approach to crisis management. You could almost say he's bringing a battle-tested mentality to this trade war, which might be exactly what Canada needs right now.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about this trade war. Now, Trump's tariffs on steel, aluminum, dairy, all kinds of Canadian products. It definitely sparks some anger north of the border. We've seen Canadians boycotting U.S. goods, booing the U.S. anthem at sporting events. Some are even canceling trips across the border.
Yeah.
It seems like national pride is really reaching a boiling point up there.
It really is, and Carney is definitely tapping into that sentiment. He's emphasizing the differences between Canadian and American values and their ways of life. There's a quote from one of the articles that really stood out to me. America is a melting pot. Canada is a mosaic. America is not Canada, and Canada will never, ever will be a part of America in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, those are some fighting words, and it sounds like he's ready to back them up. There was another quote that really jumped out at me, too. We didn't ask for this fight, but Canadians are always ready when someone else drops the gloves. The Americans, they should make no mistake in trade, as in hockey, Canada will win.
I mean, he's really playing up that David versus Goliath narrative, isn't he? He is, but beyond the rhetoric. It's important to think about what his experience with the 2008 crisis and Brexit might tell us about his strategy in all of this. In both of those cases, he took a pretty measured approach, focusing on stability and long-term solutions. He's not really one for rash decisions or impulsive actions.
So you're saying he's likely to take a more calculated approach to this trade war, maybe focus on building alliances with other countries, diversifying Canada's trade partners, playing the long game.
It's definitely possible. I mean, he's already proven himself as a skilled negotiator and strategist. And remember, he's not just an economist either. He's also worked as a Goldman Sachs executive and served as the UN envoy for climate action and finance. So he's got a deep understanding of global politics and economics.
Wait, hold on. Goldman Sachs and a UN envoy. It's quite the resume. And get this, both Justin Trudeau and former conservative PM Stephen Harper wanted him as their finance minister.
Exactly. He's been sought after by both sides of the aisle, which really says something about his reputation and his expertise.
So we've got this incredibly experienced figure stepping onto the political stage at a time when tensions are so high. What do you think this means for Canada's relationship with the U.S.? I mean, for so long, it's felt like this big brother, little brother dynamic.
It has, but it seems like the little brother's finally flexing some muscle, and this trade war, this surge in national identity, it's all happening within a much larger context, and that's where things get really interesting for you. I think we're seeing a potential shift in the whole dynamic between the U.S. and Canada.
Yeah, it's interesting reading through these articles. There's this sense of betrayal that keeps coming up from Canadians.
Right.
I mean, they've been such a close ally to the U.S., fought alongside them in wars. They share the longest undefended border in the world, and now they're getting hit with these tariffs. It's going to feel like a slap in the face.
It does, and I think for a lot of Canadians, these tariffs feel arbitrary and unfair, like a direct attack on their sovereignty and their way of life. It's no surprise they're pushing back.
Okay, so let's say Carney wins this election and actually becomes prime minister. How does he navigate this whole trade war thing? What would that even look like?
Well, it's going to be a tough balancing act, that's for sure. On one hand, he needs to project strength and resolve to Canadians, but also to the U.S., he can't appear weak in this situation.
But on the other hand, going too hard too fast could backfire, right? Especially with a country like the U.S.
Exactly. He'll need to keep those lines of communication open with the U.S. because at the end of the day, Canada relies heavily on trade with the U.S., and a full-blown trade war would hurt both economies.
So he needs to be tough, but also pragmatic.
Exactly. And this is where all that experience as a central banker might really come in handy. He's used to dealing with these complex financial situations, negotiating with world leaders, finding solutions that work for multiple parties.
So you're saying those skills could translate to the political arena?
Potentially.
Okay, we can't ignore the elephant in the room here. Annexation. Some of the articles you sent actually mentioned that a small but vocal minority of Americans are talking about annexing Canada, which honestly sounds kind of crazy.
It does sound far-fetched, but I think it's important to understand where it's coming from, this idea of annexation. It's coming from a place of frustration.
Okay.
Some Americans feel like Canada is benefiting from trade deals and these security arrangements without really pulling their weight.
So there's this sense of like an unfair advantage.
Yeah, some argue that Canada benefits disproportionately from things like U.S. security arrangements and trade deals. It's a pretty simplistic view, but it reflects a deeper frustration with these perceived imbalances in the relationship. How much weight that argument actually holds is debatable.
Yeah, well, regardless, I doubt Canadians are too thrilled about this whole annexation talk.
You're right. They're not. They see it as a complete disregard for their history, their culture, their independence as a nation.
And to be fair, Canada is not some tiny, helpless country. They've got a strong economy, a stable democracy, a proud national identity. They're not just going to roll over and be absorbed by the U.S.
Absolutely, and that's what makes this whole situation so fascinating. I think we're seeing a real shift in the Canada-U.S. relationship, this rise in Canadian nationalism, this willingness to actually stand up to the U.S. It's a pretty pivotal moment in their history, almost like watching this sibling rivalry play out on the world stage.
But this time, the stakes are so much higher.
Yeah.
Right? We're talking trade wars, national identity, whispers of annexation.
It's a lot to unpack, and it's important to remember this is all still unfolding. We don't know how the election will turn out, what policies Carney will actually implement, or even how the U.S. will respond. There are a lot of unknowns.
Which I guess makes it all the more important to stay informed and engaged with what's happening.
For sure, this story is going to keep developing in the coming months and years, and it could have a huge impact on the global landscape. This whole situation in Canada highlights a few key things for you.
Okay. Let's break it down. What are some takeaways for our listener? Okay, so what are we really seeing play out here? What are some of the big takeaways from all of this?
Well, firstly, I think it shows that even in this super globalized world, national identity still carries a lot of weight. And when that identity is challenged, people push back. We're seeing it happen right now in Canada, but we've also seen it in other parts of the world, too, with Brexit, the rise of all these populist movements, even the current tensions between the U.S. and China.
Yeah, it's like people are searching for that sense of belonging, that sense of community in a world that just feels so uncertain and unpredictable.
Exactly. And when that feeling of belonging is threatened, they react sometimes in positive ways, sometimes not so positive. But the point is, national identity. It's a powerful force, and it can have a huge impact on global events.
So what should we be watching for in the coming months as all of this unfolds?
Well, the Canadian election is definitely key if Carney wins. It'll be really interesting to see how he handles this trade war. Can he find that balance, between standing up for Canada but also maintaining a good relationship with the U.S.?
Yeah, it's a tough spot to be in because they really do need each other economically.
Yeah.
Canada is the U.S.'s largest trading partner and vice versa. A full-blown trade war would be devastating for both of their economies.
No question. Finding a way to de-escalate the situation is going to be crucial for both sides. But this goes beyond just trade. This whole situation is a real test of the entire North American relationship.
You're right. It makes you wonder, will this push Canada and the U.S. further apart, or will it kind of force them to renegotiate their relationship maybe on more equal terms this time?
That's the big question, and the answer to that has implications not just for Canada and the U.S., but for the whole world, really.
So if we zoom out and look at the bigger picture here, we have this new prime minister, a former central banker, no less, stepping onto the world stage at a time when global tensions are already so high. He's facing a trade war with the U.S. This surge in Canadian nationalism and even this crazy talk of annexation, it's a lot to deal with.
It is, but it's also an opportunity for Canada to redefine its place in the world, assert its independence, and really forge a new path forward.
It really highlights the fact that even in a world dominated by these superpowers, smaller nations can still have a big impact.
And that history is always being written. I mean, we're living through a pretty pivotal moment, and it's up to us to pay attention, stay informed, and really engage in these important conversations.
What I'll say. Well, we'll leave you with one final thought to consider. If Canada successfully navigates this whole challenge, could it inspire other countries to stand up for themselves and push back against the status quo? It's definitely something to think about.
It really is a fascinating time to be alive.
That's it for our deep dive this week. Be sure to check back in next time for more in-depth discussions on the stories that matter most.